gave him about $55 million out of the couple billion that the feds and I and the companies agreed.
Despite assurances from Melanie Joly to the contrary, Stellantis has decided that they are moving much of their productivity out of Canada and into the United States. Doug Ford and the Liberal government are acting the way that they've been acting the entire time, shocked and awed, and have no idea how to handle it. Welcome back to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling. Two big things happened on the tariff front yesterday. The Stellantis company has decided that they're moving all of their productivity down into the United States of America. We'll be going over that, and we'll touch on the softwood lumber tariffs, which is a thing that's been happening for a long time. We're not going to really talk too much about the tariff itself, but we are going to talk about the lack of response from these two government leaders who claim to be businessmen and who claim to have it all under control. They keep repeating the same old processes and just begging Donald Trump that nothing is going to change. But things have changed, and they are incapable of handling it. It's obvious. There's no, it doesn't matter where you come. If you're looking at this situation thinking that Mark Carney has a grasp of it, then you are clearly not qualified to weigh in on the subject. All right, let's check it out. Let's open with the statement from Stellantis, and then we'll get into how Melanie Joly is backpedaling like a crazy person because she has spent the whole time for the last, half a year running up and down the country going, I have a good relationship with Stellantis. And Philip Champagne before her October 14, 2025, Stellantis to invest $13 billion to grow in the United States. Expands U.S. productivity by 50% with 5 new vehicle launches and 19 product actions over the next 4 years, adding more than 5,000 new jobs in plants in Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. That's a substantial investment in at least 4 states. The largest single investment in the company's 100-year history. They talk about how the Belvidere in Illinois plant to reopen for production of 2 new Jeeps and vehicles, reopen. Which, of course, means that if you live in that town, that gigantic building has been sitting there mothballed for however long, and all of the jobs that are coming out of Oakville are going to be going right into there, so they can manufacture this Jeep exclusively on the other side of the border. All new mid-sized trucks to be assembled in Ohio. Michigan plant to produce all new range-extended EVs and internal combustion large SUVs. Next generation Durango to be built in Detroit. The Kokomo, Indiana facility to produce all new GM ET4 EVO engine. Those all impact Canada pretty severely, and they take the legs out from under Mark Carney's fantasy that somehow this company is going to be investing in an EV plant in Windsor. There's a whole thing about how they're going to be investing in the United States, and it's all about, $13 billion, and everybody's excited. Here's some of the details. In Illinois, the Stellantis intends to invest $600 million to reopen the Belvidere assembly plant to expand productions of its Jeep, the Cherokee, the Compass for the U.S. market with an initial product launch in 2027. So they're already down there hiring. There are people who are going into work today into that plant to make sure the wiring hasn't been chewed up by anything, make sure the wiring hasn't gone dry, updating the software, making sure that they're all of the, I don't know how long it's been closed, but even if it's been closed a year, there's a team in there right now looking after all of these things. Somebody's passing the broom. Somebody is putting oil, putting hydraulic or pneumatic fluid back into these machines. No denying the fact that they're probably moving equipment out of Oakville right now, putting it on the back of a truck and taking it down there. So this town is already feeling the benefits of this $600 million investment. Ohio, with an investment of nearly $400 million, all new mid-sized trucks previously allocated to this plant, plans to move to the Toledo Assembly Complex, where it will join with the Jeep Wrangler and the Production shift could create more than 900 jobs. They plan on launching in 2028. So don't think it's just sitting there and they're waiting to go. It's just going to take them long to get the plant up and running. And appreciate what that means. That means that if all of a sudden they decide that they're going to let the tariffs go, they can't just flip a switch and move it back. It takes years to get this stuff in action. And that's what everybody needs to understand. Trump made the announcement in April. And Mark Carney has been sitting there holding his breath, hoping that, the Americans will change their mind or something. Oh, don't worry, 4 more years. Like, what are you on about? Trump made the plan in April. And it's now, like I told everybody, it's now been 6 months, and it's phase 2. This is phase 2, and there'll be a phase 4, all completing by the time the midterms. Stellantis plans to develop all new ranged extended EV and internal combustion engine large SUVs that will be produced in the Warren Truck Assembly Plant beginning in 2028. The company will invest $100 million to retool the facility. It is anticipated that the new program will add 900 jobs, which is just on the other side of the border. So at least maybe some of those guys from Windsor can get into the States. In Indiana, the company confirms its January announcement to make additional investments in several of its facilities to produce all new 4-cylinder engine, the GM ET4 EVO, beginning in 2026. The company plans to invest more than $100 million to add more than 100 jobs to ensure that the U.S. will be manufacturing home of its strategic powertrain. Stellantis US footprint includes 34 manufacturing facilities, parts distribution centers, research and development locations across 14 states. These operations support more than 48,000 employees, 26,000 dealers, and nearly 2,300 suppliers in thousands of communities across the country. Today's announcement builds on the previously announced actions of January of 2025. That engine is what they're going to be putting into whatever hybrid they got coming off the market that's going to try to compete with Honda, because Honda has the largest selling hybrid going. And this is an engine that they're a 4-cylinder hybrid. They're calling it a 4-cylinder EV, whatever, but that's all it's going to be. So they got trucks, they got Jeeps, they got a 4-cylinder hybrid. Where in any of that does it sound like they care about what's happening in the Canadian market? They're going to shut down Oakville, and you can't even believe what the Liberal government has to say about that. I just want to say this one other thing. Like we heard about all of those employees, 50,000 people, and all the rest of it. Here on the bottom, it says about Stellantis, and it talks about where they're located. So they're traded in New York, they're traded in Paris, they're traded in Milan. Is a leading global automaker dedicated to giving its customers the freedom to choose the way to move, embracing the latest technologies and creating value-added stakeholders. Its unique portfolio of iconic and innovative brands includes Abarth, Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, Citroën, Dodge, DS Automobiles, Fiat, Jeep, Lancia, Maserati, Opel, Peugeot, Ram, Vauxhall. Oh, yeah, there was never, ever, ever going to be a time when they were telling themselves that they're going to stand in Canada and make Donald Trump upset with those amounts. I mean, did you hear that list of companies that they have control of? This is something that's going to impact their global market. They need access to that tariff-free steel. They need access to that tariff-free copper. They need access to that 15% corporate tax that's going into, what did it say? 14 states? 14 states. And they have Americans lined up around the corner, ready, willing, and able to do these jobs to start tomorrow and work until the day they retire and be excited and be happy about it. Because it's a job. Some of these towns are going to come back to life for the first time in however many years. That's restaurants, that's high school teams, that's so much benefit to so many places, and our government has done absolutely nothing but try to convince you that it's going to be okay if we adopt the Chinese model. Somehow that's going to put a lot of money in our pockets, and if we trade with Europe. And of course, Doug Ford, well, you same old coming out of Doug Ford. Melanie Joly is the industry minister of Canada. This is the person that's supposed to be in charge of revitalizing all of these industries that are being impacted by the actions of Donald Trump's America.
Well, let me be clear on Stellantis. I'm extremely disappointed about this decision, and not only am I disappointed, it's completely unacceptable. So we will fight for these jobs. We will fight for the jobs at Brampton. We'll fight for the jobs that were committed by Stellantis, and we'll fight for our auto sector. I've been in contact with Lana Payne, the head of Unifor, yesterday and today. I've been in contact with Flavio Volpe, who's an important voice in the sector. We've been working hand in glove also with the Ford government, and we're one strong Team Canada together.
Oh, we're back to Team Canada now, right? Now it's Team Canada. When they don't need Team Canada, it's Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta. They can do whatever they want. Team British Columbia all of a sudden. And now they've lost Newfoundland. It's just Stellantis is leaving Ontario, which is taking many thousands of jobs and a lot of money. And she feels that Stellantis should honor the contract they have with the union, which is wild. And it's, we're going to be talking to everybody, and it's going to be all about Team Canada. Talk is all you got. That's all they've been doing now for years.
And the company has commitments under different types of agreements.
Now she's repeating herself because she has nothing else to say, but Melanie Joly has a real verbal diarrhea situation all the time. So she's one of these people that thinks that if she just continues to talk, if she just says the same thing over and over again, somehow it sounds like it was a definitive and comprehensive answer.
With the government, including the fact that we provided support for the retooling of the very Brampton facility that right now is sitting idle. So we will make sure that we push the company and we hold them to account. And at the same time, what we want is we want to make sure that the workers are well treated, and their support needs to be extended by another year until 2027 at least.
They expect Stellantis to pay them to sit at home.
So we will continue to push, and we will continue to make sure that we're fighting for the jobs. And I'll continue to work night and day on this issue. I've had a conversation with the Prime Minister this morning and a conversation with Minister LeBlanc as well.
Well, she's had a conversation with the union. She's had a conversation with the negotiator. She's had a conversation with the Prime Minister. She's had a conversation with Doug Ford. She's had a conversation with Minister LeBlanc. She just had a conversation with the reporter who asked her the question. She's in New Brunswick talking to them about how Quebec's aluminum is somehow going to improve the lives of people in New Brunswick. She's just had a conversation with them. That's all she's been doing for her entire portfolio, the time she's had this portfolio. She's just zipping up and down the country. That's all any of them have been doing. Talk, 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 talk. No action, no movement. Oh, we're going to take these ideas that we have, that other people have, and we're going to put them on a list. And then I'm going to hire one of my lifelong friends. They're going to help you decide, but it won't be me if they shoot it. It'll be them, not me. Even though they're my lifelong friend, the only reason they got the job is because they'll do exactly what I tell them to. And meanwhile, we're going to be talking. Oh yeah, no, this was a great government to pick to solve these impending problems. It's no wonder that Trump mocks them. They do nothing. They talk, talk, talk. I suppose that's something, but it's not effective, and it's not going to solve any of the problems. And with every passing second, this country comes closer and closer to collapse.
The tariffs for lumber went up yesterday or today. I'm not sure, but have you got any?
I'll talk to him on Thursday. But that guy, President Trump, he's a real piece of work. You know something? What my message to the Prime Minister when I meet him on Thursday is, if you can't get a deal, let's start hitting him back. Let's start hitting the U.S. back hard, because all Trump does is continue. We're nice, play nice in the sandbox, and today is another tour. Yesterday, he's 10% on softwood lumber. After it was 35%, he increased it 10%. And then he all of a sudden, one day out of the blue, someone must have told him cabinet makers. And we should ship a lot of cabinets down there. And all of a sudden now there's a tariff there. I am sick and tired of sitting and rolling over. We need to fight back. Folks, we are an economic powerhouse.
Now, I stopped right there on purpose because Doug Ford clearly has no idea what's happening. He does not understand it, and he's just continuing to say the same old rhetoric to the same old people who also do not understand it. Now, you and I need to understand. We understand it. Donald Trump in no way, shape, or form was never going to stop the imposition of those tariffs on the softwood lumber. He's made a whole big deal about how he's unlocking big sections of national parks so that they could be cut down and turned into wooden products. He's got a whole thing where he's relaunching green programs where trees can be replanted. His entire platform and portfolio, if the Liberal government and Doug Ford, the conservative in name only Doug Ford, had paid attention to any of it, they wouldn't be surprised by it. It's not that it's all of a sudden overnight, blah, 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 cabinet makers. It's that they are in phase 2. And as soon as they come into close to getting Kuzma, that will be the initiation of phase 3. All you have to do is understand the goal. All you have to do is understand the target. But the Liberal government and Doug Ford, the Liberal, don't understand that because they're not good at business. They're not good at negotiation. They're not good at diplomacy. They're not good at it. I mean, this is the guy that's gutting his province and he's calling them, you heard the way he talks about Trump. What does he hope to accomplish with that? What does he hope that that's going to accomplish for the people of Ontario? He can't think his way through this. He has no idea what to do. They have no imagination. Because they have no imagination, they have no ability to solve these problems. Obviously, Donald Trump was going to impose the tariffs back up because he wants the cabinet building. There is so much building going on in the States right now, and there are plenty of men lined up around the corner who know how to work with wood. And they're like, let's use American products. Of course, the other thing that Doug Ford and Mark Carney are seriously overlooking is a lot of these skilled trades are going to be going to the South because at least they'll be allowed to work there. Here, they won't even be allowed to, turn their car over in the driveway without the Mark Carney government coming after them for some sort of carbon thing.
We buy $356 billion of goods, Canada does, off the U.S.
And he thinks that it's not significant that he says that, right? Like in his mind, he's saying something like, wow, that'll show. There are $350 billion worth of products in Canada that we could be manufacturing for ourselves, and we're giving our money to the Americans, and you're not even looking at doing that because you're too afraid to put a shovel in the ground.
We're the number one customer to the U.S.
But where in all of this do you think that we're not going to continue to buy that product? You have done nothing to increase the industry in your province. Nothing. So you're still going to have to buy that because you've done nothing but fixate on Donald Trump.
No one in the world buys more goods than what we do. We need to start hitting back and hitting back hard. That's the only thing this person understands. Sorry, I just get pumped up talking about this guy. He drives me absolutely crazy.
And all the liberal media around him chuckling, ha, 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 you get pumped up over him. Do you think Donald Trump gives a lick about whether or not you get pumped up? You know who does care about what's happening is the people that are in the middle class who are currently out of work. So your little game that you've been saying, oh, I get pumped up. Why don't you do something? Get off your hands and understand that the system that you're clinging to so desperately is no longer. You're leading Ontario to the path of poverty, and you're going to try to tell everybody that it's all about Donald Trump. You said in your own words that we buy all these products off the Americans, and you've done nothing to begin to develop those products inside of Canada. You just sit there and whine.
Crazy, he does, and we aren't going to roll over. I'm not going to let him roll over Ontario. I'll tell you that. Thank you.
Roll over? He doesn't care. He's not caring about Ontario. He doesn't care. He cares about the Americans, which is something that you should stop doing. Stop focusing on the Americans. Start thinking about Canada.
Matt Kennedy here.
I'm sorry. He just gets me all fired up.
For CTV News.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Premier. I'm wondering, are you still committed to the billions, committed to the Stellantis EV deal in Windsor, given what the company has done in Brampton?
I'm not going to give him a penny because it was tied in to making sure Windsor and keep Brampton going. And we haven't given him a penny for Brampton yet. We gave him about $55 million out of the couple billion that the feds and I and the companies agreed. It's disappointing. They said they're going to keep Brampton open. I had a conversation with the president of Stellantis yesterday.
Yeah, you gave him $55 million, and the president of Stellantis is moving his company down into the United States of America, and he's taking your $55 million as he goes. Disappointing. That's a good word for it.
He said, well, we're going to postpone it for a year. We're going to find a new model.
Now, listen to me. When you talking to automotives, they always tell you the same thing. That's their tactic. That's their trick. They'll tell you, we're going to come back to it in about a year. We're going to come back to it in a year and a half, and then they never do. They are all of the companies that are leaving Canada are all saying the same thing. They're just buying time. They're just getting you off your back, and then next they won't answer your phone calls. That's just a tactic that they use. We're going to postpone the release of these electric delivery vans for a little while. It's the same thing. Of course, Doug Ford is hoping that you don't understand that, or he himself doesn't understand it. I mean, the guy beside him is twitching like a schoolboy who's just anxious to get out of there.
I don't understand. They're investing $13 billion in the U.S. We're an auto manufacturing powerhouse here.
We aren't really, because the auto manufacturing is moving to the United States, and there will go our auto manufacturing. So I'm not sure, Doug, that you're up to speed on how these things work.
They're going to transfer 1,500. The only good news, there's no good news, but the only good news is they're adding a third shift in Windsor, and they're going to try to transfer 1,500 people from Brampton down to Windsor.
Which, of course, is just not even close to the truth. You want me to believe there might be, I don't know, maybe of the 1,500 jobs that are available to be leaving from Brampton, there might be, let's say, 100 guys who are in a position to move. But everybody else, you want them to, like, what? Move their children, move their wives. We are in a housing crisis, Doug Ford. Where do you want them to go when they get to Windsor? Do you want them all to just camp in the parking lot? Should they all drive down there in campers and then just sleep in the parking lot?
But we're competitive. We can produce the best vehicles anywhere in the entire world, right here in Ontario. So I'm going to keep pushing like they've never seen before.
And just
Oh, you're pushing. All right. You and Melanie can both keep pushing all you like. You're pushing the country right into the brink of collapse while you do absolutely nothing.
follow up, you were prepared to pull Diageo products off the shelves of LCBO for the closure of that plant employing 200 people. What kind of retaliation would you contemplate in response to the potential loss of those 3,000 jobs? And what do you think the federal government's response should be?
There's no Jeep. I don't see him with the sledgehammer beating the Jeep up like he did with the booze, pouring it down the drain. I don't. And I'm just, spoiler alert. He doesn't buy a Jeep and destroy it.
Well, I have to protect the Brampton jobs. When they're saying they're going to add 1,500 more jobs in Windsor, that allows people to have an opportunity to move down there.
Oh yeah, got no place to live, and there isn't 1,500 people in Windsor who would love to have that job. And
I want to keep the Brampton plant open no matter what. He's given me his word. They're going to keep it open. They're going to see what products they're going to put in there. But again, his words, not mine, but it's everyone in the world. He goes, there's uncertainty. Until we see a deal made between Canada and the US, the CUSMA deal.
CUSMA. Now, that's how far they've gone now. Oh, it's all about CUSMA. But Doug Ford, your buddy, Mark Carney, says that the tariffs are not impacted. So the CUSMA doesn't have an impact on it. They're all the same, 85% tariff-free, blah, 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 blah.
How do you figure any company can figure it out? It's the uncertainty.
I told you already what's happening. There's no uncertainty, Doug Ford. There is none. We know exactly the next moves will come out of Donald Trump probably in March.
Uncertainty that President Trump has not just brought to Canada, he's brought it to the entire world. And protectionism does not work.
Protectionism works great.
You see job losses in the U.S. the last 5 months. Every single month, there's job losses.
We've lost 85,000 jobs in Canada, and they lose like 1,500. So,
and it's going to continue. Protectionism, all it does is a tax on Canadians. A tariff on Canadians is a tax on Americans. And we're seeing it now. Their economy is slowing.
See, that's what he doesn't want to grasp, right? By raising the tariff on the Canadian product, they will be now buying American products, and it will not be a tax on an American. It'll simply be an American buying an American product from an American company built by an American. Of course, Doug Ford would have to be thinking Canada first to understand that.
And there's more unemployment. So do you know how you fix that? Make a deal with Canada.
Oh, I see. So you feel that the guy who's got his economy booming and has made a $17 trillion investment into his country is going to be harmed by the tiny little market that is Canada. Yeah. No. And that'll save you from what, Doug? From putting any shovels in the ground?
Make a deal with your largest customer and things get things back to normal.
Back to normal. See? No ability to problem solve, no ability to roll with the punches, no ability to understand that things have changed. Complete lack of ability to deal with change is exactly what we have in these two leaders, Mark Carney and Doug Ford, and all of Mark Carney's staff and all of Doug Ford's staff. They are not people who understand how to fix things. They are only people who understand how to manipulate the system that's around them. Mark Carney's not a businessman. He's a corporate raider, which is a manipulation of the stock market.
And what we're going to do, and this is really important, when I sit down with the Prime Minister, these are the reasons we need to start focusing and pouring money into infrastructure, pouring money into the critical mineral sector that will create thousands of jobs, $22 billion, 75,000 jobs, making sure we work with the First Nations community.
And he launched into some, how we're all going to hold hands and everybody's going to be excited about it. Of course, he's wrong. All of the things that Donald Trump is doing is obviously working. That's why we see the Chinese getting so upset. That's why we see so many countries that are willing to do exactly what Donald Trump is asking, because they have economic forecasts and they understand how this works. They understand that before the 90s, protectionism was the status quo in the world. People made what they made, and it was only for their country and only theirs alone. And then some banker in the States decided that they can capitalize on cheap labor. And then they improved the transportation system, the logistical system of the earth, and they decided that they could all make a lot of money. Now they see that they can't make any money because Donald Trump has decided that he's going to put tariffs on there. Now Donald Trump is a businessman first. People forget that here's a man that navigated the real estate market of New York, which is easily one of the most cutthroat markets in the entire world. Doug Ford, by contrast, has not had to do any of that. So he's sitting there saying, oh, let's get it back to normal. Let's get it back to normal. Like a bunch of him and Mark Carney and all of their cabinet are all just a bunch of people who talk like they're in grade 4. They just want everybody to just, play nice and get along. That's why he had to make a reference to the sandbox, because that's where he is in his head. He's back in elementary school talking about how everybody has to get along. Donald Trump is making sure that the people in his country do better. He's following through on his campaign promises. Doug Ford promised that he was going to be able to save the Ontario no matter what Donald Trump does, that he needs 4 years to reverse all of the damage. And now, all of a sudden, because of the nation-building projects, every time I hear from Mark Carney or any of the rest of them, it's always all about now the First Nations all of a sudden. All of a sudden, we can't put a shovel in the ground because we don't have the permission of the First Nations. You know what I know? I know that I can drive up to any First Nation person anywhere, and here's a bag of money, here's a check, we're going to be doing this, and this is how much you get. And they'll be like, yeah, we're good, man. Let's do it. You got any jobs that I can give to the people that are here? Because a couple of them could really use some work. It's not all of this big. I'm not going to go into that in this episode because Doug Ford just gets on my last nerve. I can't stand people who are trying to blame other people for their shortcomings. You have had months to do something, and you're just shocked that Donald Trump adds 10% more to the timber industry, and you've absolutely no idea what to do with the timber. But I can tell you what Donald Trump is doing with his timber down in the States. He's utilizing it to give products to people, build houses, tables, chairs. And unfortunately for us, we try to buy our stuff from, China, rather than to encourage people to get into woodworking, of course, because then all of the people say, oh, no, it's the First Nations, and they might not like it if we cut down a blade of grass and pick a tree. And you know what? Those trees grow back, and there's a lot of ways that we could be getting this country up and running. Of course, all of them would go against the liberals' insistence that we live in 10, 15-minute cities, and the liberals' insistence that we all follow some sort of antiquated notion of how the environment should be looked after. We know better. We have other technology and other means. The Paris Accords are no more. They're torn up. People are not following along any of it. People have taken a different approach now, and the liberals and Doug Ford and the rest of them can't keep up. They can't keep up with the business model. They have no idea how to create anything. All I say is the truth. They only know how to manipulate the system around them. They do not know how to create something new. And what we need is people who can create something new, who can roll with the punches, who can say, all right, if Donald Trump is going to do that, we have to get ahead of him. We have to understand that this system is broken, and whatever's in place right now, whatever's the status quo right now, is going to be gone. So what can we do that's good for us? Of course, they should have started, 11 years ago. All right, that's just my opinion. I'm going to wrap here. You can let me know what your opinion is down in the comments. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time.